What's up, Narco Gang? Welcome back to the channel. If y'all not subscribed, you already know what to do. My lighter go. Hell, dog. Don't y'all have when y'all lose y'all lighter? I just had that motherfucker in my hand. Now it's gone. Was it in my pants? I don't know what the fuck I did with it. Anyways, what's up, Narco Gang? Welcome back to the channel. If y'all not subscribed, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to be notified for everything that we drop. Today's video is about Cuff Boys. If y'all can, as y'all can see in the title, it's also about him doing a reaction to UFO hearing in Congress. Now, I don't know if y'all know what Congress is. It's like Capitol Hill, pretty much. It's like a bunch of Republicans and Democrats and probably liberals. They get on there, and you gotta have somebody explaining themselves, and you gotta have them judging them. You know what I'm saying? So it's a big deal to me. Right now they explaining how UFOs touch down and how you got high power people that seen it, like military people, like Air Force, Army, all of that shit. So they got pilots and shit that seen shit in the sky that then did some weird shit that wasn't supposed to be doing some weird shit. So yeah, it's a lot of shit going on. So I appreciate everybody tuning in. Like with that subscribe button. Let's get to it, gang.
Welcome to the most exciting subcommittee in Congress this week for discussion of unidentified anomalous phenomenon.
I can't believe this is happening. This is insane. The fact that UFOs and aliens in general is this big conspiracy, and now the government has pretty much released footage over the past year or two, and then now this hearing. This is gonna be intense.
The lack of transparency regarding UAPs, which was
That's one of the big issues, is the lack of transparency. I know they don't want to worry people and make people panic, but I feel like we deserve to know.
I also want to point out in 1966, President Gerald Ford claimed to have seen a UFO, and in 1969 in Georgia, Jimmy Carter claimed to have seen a UFO.
It's not in my notes here.
We could use fancy words
know
like
that.
succulent,
Jimmy
ambrosial,
Carter
or
and Gerald Ford
epicurean
said
to
they seen
describe our
UFO?
Atlantic salmon. But the only
Is that
three words we
believable? I
care
don't
about
know.
are fresh.
But Matt Gaetz, if it hadn't been for Matt Gaetz, myself, him, and Luna would still be down at Eglin Air Force Base trying to get some answers. You got an incredible legal mind. Also,
That accent's crazy.
I know I saw it in the crowd there, George Knapp.
George Knapp's there? Isn't that the guy that did the Bob Lazar shit, right?
Mr. Knapp wrote, since 1969, the position of our military has been that UFOs pose no threat to national security and are not worthy of further study. I'd say that's the biggest understatement of the decade. And he also goes on to talk about the dismissive attitude. It's at odds with what was revealed in documents, reports, and internal memos. I'd also like to thank the members of Congress who have supported our efforts to make this hearing happen. Some have even confided to me that they've had UFO sightings of their own. Those members, of course, some of them wish to remain anonymous, and I'll keep it that way.
What? Don't remain anonymous. Just come out at this point, bro. What's the
That for
difference?
real?
There's 3 brave witnesses here. They took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and dadgummit, they're doing it. And we owe them a debt of gratitude.
Clap, 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 clap,
God
clap.
damn it, they're doing it.
Y'all quit clapping. You're cutting in on
God
time.
damn it, they're doing it.
Just kidding. These folks, they've got nothing to gain from this, and I think
like
you're going
this
to find
guy.
out that they've endured quite a few slings and arrows. If an airline pilot has a sighting, that when he makes that report to the FAA, that it would come to Congress. But I was told that the intelligence community did not like that, and the amendment was not even heard in committee.
That's insane. If an airline pilot thinks they see something, it should be a known thing at all levels of government.
At
The
all
folks at the
levels.
Pentagon, they work for us. Dadgummit, we don't work for them. And that's exactly the point. This is an issue of government transparency. We're going to uncover the cover-up, and I hope this is just the beginning of many more hearings and more people coming forward about this.
That was a good opening statement from him. I believe he's from Tennessee.
One poll in particular found that 68% of Americans believe that the government is hiding information about UAPs and not being honest about what we know about them. And from my personal experience, I believe the same thing.
Of course they are.
Being an active duty service member working on an airfield, I've had conversations with many pilots where they were in fear of coming forward for retribution and or being taken off flight status.
Unreal. There should be no consequences whatsoever.
Now, I understand fully that the Department of Defense is hesitant to share information that could also undermine our national security by revealing information on the capabilities of our own aircraft.
Yeah, it's a fine line they have to play with and figure out is the priority of national security versus being transparent to the public, which is a very fine line. They got to be careful and they have to figure out what they can release and not release.
We have incidents where sensors, sometimes even multiple types of sensors, detect things that we cannot explain. UAPs, whatever they may pose a serious threat to our military or civilian aircraft, and that must be understood.
I hate flying. I have to fly in like 2 days across the country. I'm terrified of that plane going down, to say the least. And the fact that we don't really know what's out there and something could fuck with my plane freaks me out a little bit. I know the odds are like one out of probably 1 out of a billion, but I try to distract myself with movies.
We should never rule anything out. We know that our space, of course, is vast and undiscovered. I hear over and over from many agencies the stigma around reporting and investigating UAPs prevents us from getting real answers. We know that whistleblowers have reported harassment, intimidation, or stigma as well, and this is not acceptable. If people can't report incidents, which
Yeah, Bob Lazar, I know he's kind of, some people have their opinions about him and whatever, but he came out in the 80s or whatever. I don't think he's made a single penny off of this, and it pretty much ruined his life. I think he got like audited like 5 times or something ridiculous. He's basically been attacked by the government for like 30 or 40 years, I think. It's pretty much ruined his life. I just think that's
Pretty much
bullshit. I don't
ruined
think
his
the
life.
government should have that much power over one person, but that's just me, I guess.
And it
It would ruin
shouldn't
his
take
life.
the potential of non-human origin to bring us together.
That's true. It shouldn't take fucking aliens to bring Republicans and Democrats together to figure something out, in my opinion, but whatever.
The American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. Those are not the words of a UFO Twitter account. Though that is a direct quote from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, that the American public has a right to learn about technologies of unknown origins, non-human intelligence, and unexplainable phenomena. In an interview with Fox News, recent former Director of National Intelligence John Radcliffe confirmed the U.S. government is aware a lot more sightings of UAPs, and that they have not made that information public. The American people have regular questions. What are UAPs? How come the media doesn't report more on them? Are they foreign adversaries? Are they U.S. technology? Are they something else? They ask themselves, how come when a Russian jet shoots flares at one of our drones, we have perfect pictures and videos to show the American people and the world? But when it comes to UAPs, nothing. Of course, we must always protect our national security to maintain our superiority, like when stealth helicopters were only rumored to exist, but were used in the Osama bin Laden raid in 2011.
I don't really have an issue with the stealth helicopters being hidden, honestly. That's like a weapon for us, for the United States, you know what I mean? That's like,
I got a problem because if you're hiding that, what else you hiding? At this point, we gotta be transparent because there's so much conspiracy shit going on. When you have a system like that in place where you can hide shit and you got the people accepting the fact that you're hiding shit, it opens up a whole door full of conspiracy, like a whole, like a cesspool door. Like it opens up the door. Okay, well they don't know this, they don't know that, so we can do this, and they're gonna think it's that. You know what I'm saying? Or this, like, it's a whole Illuminati. That all that shit, bro. We gotta stop. Ain't no more leaving shit closed doors and then, you know what I'm saying, hiding shit, because people don't know how to act when you let them hide shit. They start hiding shit and they start hiding too much. And then they start, you know what I'm saying, forming societies of other motherfuckers that know what they know. It's just weird, bro. I don't like it.
something in our back pocket.
There are 171 uncharacterized UAP reports that appear to have demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. I believe more information is known about the 171 instances. It's time
Oh,
for
100% there's more information. So this is a former Navy pilot named Ryan Graves, who I believe have seen a UAP before.
That's
so
an alien.
This is his statement.
I believe he an alien, y'all. I know I say I don't believe in aliens, but if I do, it will be his ass.
In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11, the Red Rippers, and I was stationed at NAS Oceana in Virginia Beach. After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. At first, we assumed they were radar errors, but soon we began to correlate the radar tracks with multiple onboard sensors, including infrared systems, eventually through visual ID. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, two F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. The mission commander terminated the flight immediately and returned to base. Our squadron submitted a safety report, but
The
there
thing was small, 5 to 15 feet in diameter, I think he said. That's like small.
was no official acknowledgement of the incident and no further mechanism to report the sightings.
Wow.
Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs. Recognizing the need for action and answers, I founded Americans for Safe Aerospace. The organization has since become a haven for UAP witnesses who were previously unspoken due to the absence of a safe intake process. The majority of witnesses are commercial pilots at major airlines. Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks.
Following concerning reports from multiple esteemed and credentialed current
Imagine y'all flying in the plane, y'all see another plane make a right-hand turn, like just turn, just fly, and just bow. Or just, you know what I'm saying, just fly and it just turn, like, shoo, shoo, shoo. That's crazy.
and former military and intelligence community individuals that the U.S. government is operating with secrecy above congressional oversight. I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I requested it.
Multi-decade is crazy. The fact that they hid this for like 50, 60, 70 years or some shit, like, it's just insane.
I made the decision, based on the data I collected, to report this information
If you're not making $100K per month right now from managing OnlyFans girls, what are you doing? This is the most...
What?
to my superiors and multiple inspectors general,
That sound like
and in effect
prostitution.
becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency.
Wow.
Thank you.
We arrived at the location at approximately 20,000 feet in a controller called Merge Plot, which means that our radar blip was now in the same resolution cell as the contact. As we looked around, we noticed that we saw some whitewater off our right side. It's important to note that the weather on this day was as close to perfect as you could ask for off the coast of San Diego. Clear skies, light winds, calm seas, no whitecaps from waves. So the whitewater stood.
Hold on, this said reserved for witness. What they mean by witness? This one say reserved. These say reserved. So if these reserved for regular Congress people, and they what witness for what? A UFO? Or a witness of these niggas' sightings? I'm confused.
Stood out in a large blue ocean. All four of us, because we were in F-18F, so we had pilots and Wizzo in the back seat, looked down a small, saw a white tic-tac object with a longitudinal axis pointing north-south and moving very abruptly over the water like a ping-pong ball.
I've heard that San Diego is very active, right? Comment down below. I'm pretty sure I've heard like a lot of sightings in the San Diego area off the coast. I'm not sure why, but I've heard that.
There were no rotors, no rotor wash, or any sign of visible control surfaces like.
If y'all didn't know, there's a big military base in San Diego, I believe. I'm not sure about that 100%, but I believe there is.
Like wings. As we started clockwise towards the object, my Wizzo and I decided to go down and take a closer look at the other aircraft staying in high cover to observe both us and the Tic Tac. We proceeded around the circle about 90 degrees from the start of our descent, and the object suddenly shifted its longitudinal axis, aligned it with my aircraft, and began to climb. We continued down another 270 degrees, nose low, where the Tic Tac, or we continued 270 degrees to where, and we went nose low to where the Tic Tac would have been. Our altitude at this point was about 15,000 feet, and the Tic Tac was about 12,000. As we pulled nose onto the object, within about a half mile of it, it rapidly accelerated in front of us and disappeared. Our wingmen, roughly 8,000 feet above us, lost contact also. We immediately turned back to see where the whitewater was at, and it was gone also. So as we started to turn back towards the east, the controller came up and said, "Sir, you're not going to believe this, but that thing is at your cap point, roughly 60 miles away in less than a minute."
60 miles away in a minute. Wow.
We were taking off our gear. We were talking to one of my crews that was getting ready to launch. We mentioned it to him, and they went out and luckily got the video that you see, that 90-second video. What you don't see is the radar tape.
It's called Point Loma, the military base that's in San Diego. Point Loma.
Was never released, and we don't know where it's at. Of the active jamming that the object put on an APG-73 radar, and I can get into modes later if you're interested.
Wow.
What is shocking to us is that the incident was never investigated. None of my crew were ever questioned. Tapes were never taken, and after a couple days, it turned into a great story with friends. In closing, I would like to say that the Tic Tac object we engaged in 2004 was far superior to anything that we had on time, have today, or are looking to develop in the next 10 years. If we in fact have programs that possess this technology, it needs to have oversight from those people that the citizens of this great country elected in office to represent what is best for the United States and best for the citizens. I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
All the people that have seen this stuff says that it looks like it's so far past us. It's hundreds and hundreds of years more advanced than us. It's really fucking scary.
More concerning is that commercial aviation sector has not adapted to the lessons that the military has implemented. The military and Department of Defense has stated that UAP represent a critical aviation safety risk. We have not seen that same language being used in the commercial markets. They are not acknowledging this risk.
What steps do you think have to be taken?
Commercial markets aren't acknowledging the risk? Holy shit. I'm not getting on that plane tomorrow, dude.
Right now we need a system where pilots can report without fear of losing their jobs. There's a fear.
Correct. There should 100% be a system to report it and not fucking lose your job.
That the stigma associated with this topic is going to lead to professional repercussions, either through management or perhaps through their yearly physical check. So having a secure system, reducing the stigma, and making this information available through the public is going to reduce the concerns that aircrew have.
Could you tell me why you believe it's kind of play the devil's advocate, a reason why some of this stuff should not be available to the public?
There's certainly some national security concerns when we use our advanced sensors in our tactical jets to be able to identify these objects. I would be curious to see how the security classification guideline actually spells out the different nuances of how this topic is classified from the perspective of UAP, not national security.
I'll give you a follow-up on that. The Tic Tac incident that you were engaged occurred in 2004. What kind of reporting took place after that incident?
None. We had a standard debrief where the backseaters went down to our carrier intel center and briefed what had happened, and that was it. No one else talked to us, and I was in the top 20 in the battle group. No one came. The captain was aware, the admiral was aware, nothing was done.
That's insane that nothing was done about that. A UAP was within feet of this guy's aircraft, and nothing was done.
Based
what
off
the
each
fuck
of your
they gonna
experiences
do? Shit. What can they do? It's an alien, nigga. Like, what they gonna do? They not finna alert the world, so they not finna send out the whole military to come out there for this one alien shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they not finna do nothing about it.
Observations. Do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yeah,
Yes,
of course.
and here's
Of
why.
course.
The
What kind of-
technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had. And you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Fucking terrifying. You gotta admit that. There's another life form out there that is so much more advanced than us, dude. It's terrifying.
I would also like to add, from a commercial aviation and military aviation perspective, we deal with uncertainty in our operating space as a matter of our professional actions. Identifying friend from foe is very important to us. And so when we have unidentified targets and we continue to ignore those due to a stigma or a fear of what it could be, that's an opening that our adversaries can take advantage of. When we were first experiencing these objects off the eastern seaboard in the 2014 to 2015 time period, anyone that had upgraded their radar systems were seeing these objects. So there was a large number of my colleagues that were detecting these objects off the eastern seaboard. They were further correlating that information with the other onboard sensors, and many of them also had their own eye sightings as well of these objects. Since then, as I've engaged this topic, others have reached out to me to share their experiences, both on the military side as well as the commercial aviation side.
Commercial airlines not having a system to report a possible UAP is insane.
The objects that are being seen by commercial pilots are performing maneuvers that are unexplainable due to our current understanding of our technology and our capabilities as a country. And that applies for the military as well.
Yeah, I concur with that. We have nothing that can stop in midair and go the other direction, nor do we have anything that can, like in our situation, come down from space, hang out for 3 hours, and go back up.
Mr. Grush, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General, and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Our government is in possession of UAPs. Interesting, huh?
How do you know that these were not?
My thing is, how do they know it came from space? That's the thing. You can't say it came down from space, hung out for 3 hours, and then went back up again. You can't really say that because you never seen it go from space. We at the most, our planes flying at 30,000, 40,000 feet in the air. Y'all know how high it is to get to space? You're talking about 150,000 miles up, 150,000 feet up, almost 200,000, 300,000 feet in the air. Bro, how do you niggas know they're going to space, bro? They don't. At most, they in a plane at 40,000, and then when you're in a plane, you don't got no view of what's above you. So how you know it's going straight up? Now, I mean, granted, it is if it's flying weird as fuck and doing some weird shit, and then just ascends just out my view, I'm gonna think it's a fucking space shit. I'm with the space too, but y'all on Congress. I'm probably gonna be on the phone talking to my sister or somebody. You know what I'm saying? My mama or somebody. These people is on the stand pretty much, and they saying this shit, and you're like you know it for a fact. That's crazy to me.
Our aircraft.
Some of the behaviors that we saw in a working area, we would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's 0 airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means,
They're just hovering.
it's just like a river. If you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach. And they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
Okay. Have you spoken to commercial and military pilots that have seen these off of our East Coast?
I have.
I noticed that in the Tic Tac video, it's Tic Tac like the candy, not TikTok like the Chinese Communist app.
That's correct.
Yes, sir. I just want to make that.
This summer, create your own adventures with
Not the Chinese Communist.
You're not aware
the Chinese Communist app. That's crazy.
of any other objects that anybody in the world has, in this world, that has those capabilities?
No, I think it's far beyond actually our material science that we currently possess.
Are you aware of any other reconnaissance platforms that tracked or recorded the Tic Tac's maneuvers, maybe the NORAD system or any of the others?
I am not.
Did you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes.
What?
Personally.
I was not
Have
expecting him
anyone
to say
been
that. He said personally. I was not expecting him to say that. Who the fuck been maimed and fucking hurt by aliens? That's what the fuck I want to know. People been hurt by aliens? That's crazy.
That you would think, that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe.
So yes.
You believe that you witnessed.
Wait,
an
what
additional-
was that?
That knowledge to the.
That you would think, that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question.
Have anyone been murdered that you would think, that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe.
Oh wow.
So yes.
You believe that you witnessed an additional object. in the
Aliens
water
killed
in
humans
relation to your
before.
encounter?
I will say we did not see an object. There was something there to cause the whitewater, and when we turned around, it was gone. So there was something there that obviously moved.
It was not the same object though that you were looking at, correct?
No, we actually joked that the Tic Tac was communicating with something when we came back, and because the whitewater disappeared.
In another instance, we're told about the capabilities of a jamming during viewing of when there were some people chasing some of these objects. Did you experience any of that jamming or interrupting your radar or weapons system?
My crew that launched after we landed experienced significant jamming to the APG-73 radar, which was what we had on board, which is a mechanically scanned, very high-end system prior to the APG-79.
This shit's jamming radars. Oh, this is a damn threat. What the fuck? That's so scary, dude.
You've identified these as taking place on the East Coast. Is it just on the East Coast where these encounters have been
reported?
No. Since the events initially occurred, I've learned that the objects have been detected essentially where all operations, Navy operations are being conducted across the world.
All locations of Navy operations, it's been reported.
We were primarily seeing dark gray or black cubes inside of a clear sphere.
I'm sorry, dark gray or black cubes?
Yes, inside of a clear sphere, where the apex or tips of the cube were touching the inside of that sphere. And that was primarily what was being reported when we were able to gain a visual tally of these objects. And that occurred over almost 8 years. And as far as I know, it's still...
Here's some pictures. I'm not sure which ones are accurate, but so it is like kind of like a cube. That's the San Diego footage, I think, right?
I do have knowledge of active planned reprisal activity against myself and other colleagues, and it's very, very upsetting to me.
Coming from where?
Certain senior leadership at previous agencies I was associated with. And that's all I'll say publicly, but I can provide more details in a closed environment. There were certain colleagues of mine that were brutally administratively attacked.
How do you account for that response? That seems like a bizarre response.
I call it administrative terrorism. That's their quiver, their tool in the toolbox to
Jesus.
silence people.
You know, I'm not like a UFO fanatic. It's not me. But I will tell you that what we saw with 4 sets of eyes over a 5-minute period, we have nothing close to it. It was amazing to see. I told my buddy I wanted to fly it, but yeah, it's just an incredible technology.
In the last couple of years, have you had incidences?
These people are too happy to have witnessed alien UFOs and shit, bro.
That have caused you to be in fear for your life for addressing these issues?
Yes, personally.
I just want everyone to note that he's coming forward in fear of his life. To put in perspective, if they were really not scared about this information coming out, why would someone be intimidated like that?
That's facts.
Can you please explain to me in detail the event that occurred at Vandenberg Air Force Base?
I have not seen what they've described. This object was estimated to be almost the size of a football field, and I have not seen anything personally that large.
The size of a football field just outside of LA over the water. Fuck you, dude. This shit's terrifying. Think about how big a football field is.
Commercial airline pilots, are they receiving cease and desist letters from corporations for coming forward with information in regards to safety for potential airline passengers?
I have been made privy to conversations with commercial aviators who have received cease and desist orders.
They're getting cease and desist. That's fucking wild.
Corporations are putting their own reputations ahead of the safety of the American people, and I think, would you agree with that statement?
It appears so.
Okay.
What about G-forces? Let's talk about G-forces of those vehicles. Could a human survive those G-forces with known technology today?
No.
No, not for the acceleration rates that we observed.
Okay. Did you see a seam or a rivet or a section? And what I mean is, obviously, the jets you're flying have all those things. Did these objects have those?
So we got within a half mile of Tic Tac, which people say that's pretty far, but in airplanes that's actually relatively close. No, it was perfectly white, smooth, no windows. Although when we did take the original FLIR video that is out there, when you put it on a big screen, it actually had 2 little objects that came out of the bottom of it. But other than that, no windows, no seams, no nothing.
Do you have knowledge or do you have reason to believe that there are programs in the advanced tech space that are unsanctioned?
Yes, I do.
How does a program like that get funded?
I will give you generalities. I can get very specific in a closed session. Misappropriation of funds.
Does that mean that there is money in the budget that is said to go to a program but it doesn't and it goes to something else?
Yes, I have specific knowledge of that. Yep.
Oh, that's so fucked. They're putting money in other shit when they say it's going somewhere else.
They taking taxpayers' money and doing this bullshit.
I'm sure this has happened for the beginning of our country with taxes in general, but damn.
U.S. corporations are overcharging for certain tech they're selling to the U.S. government, and that additional money is going to programs?
Correct, through something called IRAD.
We have satellites all over the place, some that we're aware of and many that we're not aware of. Right? Do you have direct knowledge, or do we talk to people with direct knowledge that there are satellite imagery of these events?
I personally reviewed both what we call overhead collection and from other strategic and tactical platforms that I could not even explain prosaically. And I have a degree in physics, by the way, as well. I'm aware that you guys have not seen these reports, unfortunately, and I don't know why.
Do you have direct knowledge, or you've spoken to people with direct knowledge that this imagery applies to crash sites, crash imagery?
My bad, y'all.
I can't discuss that in an open session.
Okay. Do you have any information that the U.S. government is involved in a disinformation campaign to deny the existence of certain UAPs?
I can't go beyond what I've already stated publicly in my News Nation interview because it touches other sensitivities.
Okay, I'll yield the balance of my time.
Do you believe that military pilots feeling empowered to share their UAP experiences has directly impacted the scientific community's research goals on this topic?
I would say yes. I would say that, starting in 2017, when it actually came out, it took that stigma away. I mean, I've talked to multiple senators who said prior to that, if you'd have mentioned UAP, you'd have been laughed off the hill. And now we're sitting here today for a public testimony on what's actually going on. I'm hoping that this curve will be more of an exponential and we'll get more and more transparent to the level that we can.
Yeah, the stigma about UAPs in general, when it comes to talking about that in government, was way worse like 10 years ago, obviously.
We audit the Pentagon every year, and I've been here 5 years, and they fail the dadgum thing every year. They lose over $1 billion a year, we think, and I've told the Department of Defense maybe 60% of their assets are unaccounted for, whatever the heck that means. In the public sector, you go to jail for that kind of crap. So tell me.
I don't know the specific metrics towards the end of your question.
Here's a day in my life as an immigrant wellness founder. I usually start my day with some hot water and meditation. And I love to follow it up with this super green latte that is made with moringa and gotu kola because it gives me
the specific corporations I did provide to the committees in specific divisions, and I spent 11.5 hours with both Intel committees.
At one point you had said that there has been harmful activity or aggressive activity. Has any of the activity
I feel like this might get intense right here.
been aggressive, been hostile? in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured.
By UAPs or by people within the federal government? Both. Okay, so there has been
both. UAPs did this too? I thought it was just the government.
Activity by alien or
I'm surprised by the government.
and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here, what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
What?
Okay. You've said that the U.S. has intact spacecraft. You said that the government has alien bodies or alien species. Have you seen the spacecraft?
I have to be careful to describe what I've seen firsthand and not in this environment, but I could answer that question behind closed doors here.
And have you seen any of the bodies?
That's something I've not witnessed myself.
My view has been that we are billions of light years away from any other system. The concept that an alien species that's technologically advanced enough to travel billions of light years gets here and somehow is incompetent enough to not survive Earth or crashes is something that I find a little bit far-fetched. And with that being said, you have mentioned that there's interdimensional potential.
I agree. It's something that is that advanced to come all the way from another planetary system and then come here and crash and die. And you know what I'm saying? He said he don't believe. I don't believe that shit either.
Could you expound on that?
I'll get to answer your first question, and I'm here as a fact witness and expert, but I will give you a theoretical framework, at least to work off, to kind of espouse crashes.
He basically just said that he finds it hard to believe that if they can travel this far, how are they crashing on our Earth? Like, it makes no sense for them to crash when they can travel this far. But he's saying there's interdimensional ways to get here, maybe.
You know, planes crash, cars crash. N number of sorties, however high, a small percentage are going to end in mission failure, if you will, as we say in the Air Force. And then in terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing, the framework that I'm familiar with, for example, is something called the holographic principle. It derives itself from general relativity and quantum mechanics. And that is, if you want to imagine a 3D object such as yourself casting a shadow onto a 2D surface, that's the holographic principle. So you can be quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we can probably argue about that.
But you have not seen any documentation that that's what's occurring?
Only a theoretical framework discussion.
Would it be safe to say that there could be a scenario today where you have an aircraft that crashes and because it's been involved in one program from one federal agency, but the agency that retrieves it is not aware of that program, and to them it appears alien in origin?
I mean, that's a hypothetical situation. I'm not aware of any historical situation that would match that.
Wow.
Several months ago, my office received a protected disclosure from Eglin Air Force Base indicating that there was a UAP incident that required my attention. We asked to see any of the evidence that had been taken by flight crew in this endeavor, and we did meet with one member of the flight crew who took the image. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability, either from the United States or from any of our adversaries. And when he showed us the photo that he'd taken, I asked why the video wasn't engaged, why we didn't have a FLIR system that worked. Here's what he said. They were out on a test mission that day over the Gulf of Mexico. And when you're on a test mission, you're supposed to have clear airspace. Not supposed to be anything that shows up. And they saw a sequence of 4 craft in a clear diamond formation for which there is a radar sequence that I alone have observed in the United States Congress. One of the pilots goes to check out that diamond formation and sees a large floating, what I can only describe as an orb. Again, like I said, not of any human capability that I'm aware of. And when he approached, he said that his radar went down. He said that his FLIR system malfunctioned and that he had to manually take this image from one of the lenses, and it was not automated in collection as you would typically see in a test mission. How should we think about the fact that this craft that was approached by our pilot had the capability of disarming a number of the sensor and collection systems on that craft?
Well, I think this goes to that national security side. You can go back through history of things showing up at certain areas and disabling our capabilities, which is disheartening. And for us, I mean, like I said, it completely disabled the radar on the aircraft when it tried to do it. And the only way we can see it is passively, which is how he got that image. So I think that's a concern on what are these doing, not only how they operate, but their capabilities inside to do things like this.
It was stated explicitly to me by these test pilots that if you have a UAP experience, the best thing you can do for your career is forget it and not tell anyone. Because any type of reporting, either above the surface or below the surface, does have a perceived consequence to these people. And that is a culture we must change if we want to get to the truth.
That's so bad.
That's wild.
I can't believe that's a thing.
Many dismiss UAP reports as classified weapons testing by our own government, but in your experience as a pilot, does our government typically test advanced weapon systems right next to multi-million-dollar jets without informing our pilots?
No, we have test ranges for that.
It took over 15 years for your encounter with the Tic Tac to be declassified. Do you feel there was a good reason to prevent lawmakers from having access to this footage?
No, I just
Nope. I was about to say nope.
think it was ignored when it happened, and it just sat somewhere in a file. Never got reported.
It happens a lot up here. Shocker. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Whoa.
Yes, but
Whoa. Everything he said he can't answer is going to be a yes at this point. Because you don't want to, wow.
Just
so they mad, bro. I think he's an
not allowed to
alien.
talk.
That dude that's talking is an
Talk about
alien.
it.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still in the program.
Non-human. Our government is hiding aliens from us, dude. That is just ridiculous.
Do you believe that your aircraft or any aircraft in possession of the United States could have shot the Tic Tac down?
I'd say no, just on the performance, it would just left in a split second.
It looks like that we have a problem here that needs further investigation.
Yes.
This flying Tic Tac, I mean, is it capable of being the product of any other nation on the earth?
No, like I said earlier, I think it defies current material science and the ability to develop that much propulsion. And I know there's been some physicists that have done calculations, which is beyond anything that we have.
Is there anything else about the November 14th, 2004 incident that you think is important for this committee to know that you haven't been asked here today?
No, it's been said it's probably the most credible UFO sighting in history based on all the sensors that were tracking it, and then for us to get visual and to go against the naysayers that it's something on the screen or whatever. I mean, there's 4 sets of human eyeballs. We're all very credible. Of the 6 of us that were involved in the thing, including the video, every one of us is going to do 20 plus years in the military in very responsible positions. So I'd say the world needs to know that. It's not a joke.
What is the most vivid, concrete sighting with the naked eye of the objects that you described before, the cube-like objects?
I think the most vivid sighting of that would have been near midair that we had at the entrance to our working area. One of these objects was completely stationary at the exact entrance to our working areas, not only geographically but also at altitude. So it was right where all the jets are going, essentially on the eastern seaboard. The 2 aircraft flew within about 50 feet of the object, and that was a very close visual sighting. I was there when the pilot landed. He was in the ready room with all his gear on, with his mouth open, and I asked him what the problem was, and he said he almost hit one of those darn things.
He said he was 50 feet away from it?
Yes, sir.
And his description of the object was consistent with the description you gave us before?
A dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere.
Inside of a clear sphere?
Yes.
And with no self-evident propulsion system?
A cube inside of a sphere with no wings, just flying around, hovering, going double the speed of sound. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this UFO hearing. We got a lot of stuff on record about these UAP sightings and the information and questions regarding what our government is holding back, and pilots being scared to report seeing a UAP should not happen ever. Scared of retaliation or, something happen with their job. So that should not exist. But yeah, I feel like the next 5 years it will get better if you want me to keep covering these UAP.
All right, Narco Gang, like he said, this is the end of this video. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this shit. Do y'all believe in aliens? Do y'all believe this whole little hearing shit is true? Y'all think there's some truth to it? Is the government hiding alien bodies from the public, from the human public? We gotta say that shit now. We're talking about some aliens and shit. So let me know what y'all think about this shit in the comments. I'm finna keep covering it. They did this. They doing it live, so we're probably gonna have another hearing today. So I'll probably do another video today. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. With that being said, we out there staying like a gang. Peace.